welcome to Mosaic with TJ Randolph. I am TJ Randolph. Um, if you're new to my channel, welcome. I would like you to consider subscribing. What I'm doing is imparting what I think words of wisdom based on my 55 years of life in various areas to include parenting, dating, and now marriage. Okay? So, what I want to do really quickly before we get into it, I have something to show you. You know it's Mosaic with TJ Randolph, right? Do you see that? Do you see that? Isn't she cute? It reads, I am a beautiful work of art made of many colorful broken pieces. I am Mosaic. You better see it. So I'm getting some samples to see what I want to do far as possible merch going down the road, but I'm I'm kind of liking it. Okay. So again, I'm TJ Randolph, also known as recently your rich auntie. Your rich auntie. I like that. Shout out to Chantel Simone. So I am your rich auntie. I am rich, retired, and married. I am all of that. So, with that, I'm going to try to impart some things to you, but I'm going to do it in the spirit of and in honor to my fellow Millwood Falcon, my fellow OU Sooner, to whom many of you call the Godfather, to whom I refer to as Kevin. Okay? I'm not going to call him the Godfather, I'm older than him. But there's a video, there's a clip, a couple of clips I want to react to, and then I'm going to dig a little further. But I know there's been a couple of broadcasts that Kevin talked about that the older women should, the previous generations before mine, before ours, which have been the boomers, should have imparted certain things to us. And because they didn't, we in turn were not able or did not impart those things to our daughters. Well, the Bible says people perish for lack of knowledge. And as I said in another video, I don't think that women and or fathers intentionally set their daughters down the wrong path, even though that's the direction in which we went. And they did not know the aftermath of what those results would be. But since we're here, it is incumbent upon us, particularly my generation, to try to help those coming behind us, to prevent them from making the same mistakes. And it's so funny because there are some mistakes that my mom made that she didn't want me and my sister to repeat, and we didn't. My mother had me her senior year in high school. She was a teenage unwed mother. I was not a teenage unwed mother. You know, I graduated from high school. I was in the midst of graduating from college, but there are some things that I did follow in her footsteps, i.e., I had my daughter before I got married to her father. So there are opportunities for improvement as we move down this course of life, or we go up down this road of life, that I'm still learning some things from my mother that she later realized. And I'm still doing that with my daughter in hopes that the things that I did wrong, she won't and won't pass that on to her daughter. So with that, let's get into a couple of videos here. And there's some things that I want to kind of break down. Please hit the like button as you're watching this video, and please consider subscribing to the channel if you would. Bear with me a moment. Where do I begin? I think I want to begin with this one. No, I'm going to begin with this one. I remember when this call came in, and I remember specifically Kevin did not at the time have this woman on camera. So everyone was in the chat was like, okay, what happened to a sound? What happened to a sound? So basically what he was doing, he was having a personal conversation with this woman and did not put her on camera. Okay? So let's get into that.
I first of all, may I say something before I get into this discussion with you? It is an honor that I get on this line with you. Okay. It's truly an honor. Well, I've been watching you for several months, and I truly agree with everything you have to say. Okay. And I am not a young woman. I am 71 years old. Yes, and I truly understand.
Do you hear that? Let's stop right there for a moment. I'm going to give Kevin was 53. This woman said that she is 71, I think close to his mom's age, because my mom is 73. So this was last year. So even though she's calling in to, sing his praises, or not necessarily sing his praises, but to give credit where credit is due, he's saying, yes, ma'am. He's offering respect to this woman. Let's continue.
And your mission for what you're trying to do. And I just want to say thank you. And I ask that you stay strong. No matter what happens, you stay strong. Because there's a scripture that says, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. And you are a laborer, and you are laboring in a vineyard that has been truly left to the side. And I just want to say thank you and keep up the good work.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there also. I agree. He was laboring. Whether I agree with everything he did or how he did it, I will not deny that he labored and he endeavored to make things better. In as much as I've expressed, I wish he would have shared more of his own personal journey, and some of you said that he did. But he was laboring. He was laboring based on the things that he learned over the course of his 53 years. Again, some things I agreed with, some things I didn't. But it is undeniable that he labored and endeavored to make a difference. Let's continue.
Thank you very much, ma'am.
And just one thing I like to say, that young women, I pray that they are truly paying attention and that they are truly processing and using what you have to say. And young men, I pray that they are listening to you, that they are able to take their proper stand in this world. I do believe that when men learn and move into their proper stand, women will automatically flow into theirs.
I do too.
I was taught,
I said, I believe that as well.
Yeah, I was taught that as a young woman, that God created man, not mankind, but man as the head. And somewhere along the line, and I know where the breakdown came, but somewhere along the line, women forgot that.
Stop right there. I did an interview with my mom, and I'm sure I know where she's going with this. Feminism. My mother talked about how, growing up in the 60s and the early 70s, feminism came about. But when I say they, the Black women, they didn't understand really what that truly was doing, because that feminism movement wasn't intended for us. It wasn't intended for Black women, because Black women were already working outside of the home, because in many instances they were only allowed Black men to do certain jobs. So it was never a situation where Black women weren't working. We were working and still taking care of our families. But we bought into, when I say we, they bought into the feminism that was intended for white women. And as a part of that, yes, Black women benefited from it. And again, another thing that's important is because before feminism, we were still educated. You know, we had historically Black colleges and universities. We had doctors, lawyers, bankers. So the idea of education was not new either. Because we have to understand and remember, at that time, we could only go to our doctors and lawyers. You know, because in certain instances, we couldn't go or couldn't afford to go to businesses outside of our community. So again, it was never an issue that Black women needed to be liberated. But we bought into it. And just like this woman is alluding to, my mother said the same thing. But again, when it was happening, you didn't know that it was happening. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that. You can be in the middle of something, in the midst of a cultural shift, in the midst of a change in trajectory, and you don't even realize you're in it until you look backwards at it. Let's continue.
And we stop teaching that to our young women. And if we elevate our men, then they will also elevate us.
That's right.
She put on a word there, because had I really understood that, a lot of my decision would have been different. And when I think about my mom, my mother has said, she had that. She saw it in my grandfather. She saw it in my grandfather, in the men of our community at the time, and sought that. But like so many young women wanted to get away from the strictness of the home of the time, because my grandfather was very strict. And thus me, here I am. And then marrying my stepfather and having my sister by the age of 19. It happened. And it is anecdotal, but I'm sure there are some of you that might be able to identify with that. Let's continue.
I appreciate it, man.
So you keep up the good work, Mr. Samuels, because I have a lot of nieces that I pray that they're really listening to you and heeding all of your advice, although they don't listen at me. But I do believe, coming from a man, they will listen.
Okay, let's stop right there. You heard the lady said that her nieces don't listen to her. That is not uncommon. It is not uncommon because there are many of us who may have had elders who sought to tell us things to do differently, but we thought we knew better, and we didn't listen. And a lot of times we felt that we should not listen because, in the case of my mom, I would think, well, why should I listen to you because you didn't do this, or this result didn't happen for you. Never considering the fact that, based on that it hadn't happened for her, she might have been trying to share some things so it could happen for me. Not to say that my mom was perfect. She will never say that either. But there are some things, and I look over the course of my life, she did seek to impart in me. You know, if not my mom, elder women in the community. But again, when you're young, you think you know it all, and you think you have time to get it right. Not unlike what we are dealing with now with millennials, in some instances, and zennials. It's fact. Let's continue. So that's the first one. That's the first video I'm going to talk about. But now I'm going to move on to something that it's really kind of hard to look at, because I see where Kevin was coming from. Like I said, I didn't agree with everything they said. But sometimes as I sit back and as a spectator and I watch it, it is cringeworthy. And it also helps me to understand that as many of us have grown in age, it is not necessarily commensurate with wisdom. Okay? And it kind of reminds me, this is an aside. When I was in college at OU, I was in a pageant. And for those of you who know anything about pageants, they ask you this question, and a part of it's to see, how you respond on your feet, how quickly you can think and respond, but not only quickly, but how cogent your responses are. So I remember being a 19, 20-ish year old young lady and having some question asked about something, whether it be political or worldly or current events. And I sought to make it sound really impressive. Did not know what the hell I was talking about. But I wanted to make it sound like I did. But now looking back on it, there are certain questions I couldn't have answered really with any in-depthness because I hadn't experienced enough to be able to speak on certain things. I just hadn't. I just had not gotten to a point that I had experienced enough or I'd seen enough or listened enough to be able to speak intelligently on certain things that were asked in that pageant and in life. Okay? So I'm going to talk about now this is a clip from one of Kevin's other videos. And it's a segment here that he's asking, are older women being truthful with younger women? So let's get into that.
This is your problem right here. Women who say they know better, but they still want to tell you, now that's all not all the same. And we need to figure out every snowflake. Man, do you look at these women's faces when you're talking? They're looking at you the same way. You're not getting it.
No, I know what you mean, but you know what I mean. I know what you mean, but I don't know if you know what I mean.
Okay, look, I'm sorry. I'm not sure exactly how old she is, because this is a clip. But communication is key. It is necessary to be able to articulate your point, your intent in order to facilitate understanding. That answer that she gave was very immature at best. No pun intended. Let's continue.
This is about modern relationships. The older cousins, the aunties, the women who have made the mistakes aren't humble enough to remove themselves from the story. Whatever happened, tell the women, tell these young women what they should do. How about that? I'm gonna step back. I'm gonna step back. You tell them what they should do.
I don't know what I should do because I don't have my stuff together, but I will be honest and say that my mom, she's amazing and smart.
No, ma'am. I only ask you one thing, to tell these young women what they should do.
See, this is a very superfluous answer. Again, it goes back to what I was saying in the pageant. You seek to sound intelligent, but you're not really sure that you understand the question that you're answering. Let's continue.
To live a life, to be happy.
Tell them how to do that.
Pardon me?
Tell them how to do that.
By just living off what you feel. I would like to say, but really not.
Well, the first thing she said is, I can't tell you how to do that. But she's still trying to overtalk me and still wanting to be heard. And then when I let you talk, she's got nothing for you. Just go on how you feel. That's what got you where you are. That's what got me where I am. That's what I mean.
Check it out. Okay, listen. Did y'all catch that? He tells her that's what got her where she is and what got him where he was. Let me go back. I want to play that one more again. Go back a little bit.
Got me where I am. That's what I mean. This is the problem. Go on how you feel. Now, you talk, she's got nothing for you. Just go on how you feel. That's what got you where you are. Got me where I am. That's what I mean. This is the problem, young ladies. I want you guys to see this is not necessarily a black thing. This is the modern woman thing. You got two young women who are trying to learn, and you should be able to tell them something different. So this is why I say all you got is me. So you got to put up with my tone, because at least I'm trying to tell you something. I come with facts, data, statistics. I don't come with this bullshit that most women are coming with. Well, shit just happens. Live life. At least I give you something that you can research to think about.
Okay, we all know what I think about statistics, data, and the reason why I say that in anyone in conversation, if we take politics alone, we can find statistics and data to support whatever position we're trying to take, and that's a fact. So, but I'm not going to disagree with the fact that certain things are researchable. What you glean from that, what you extrapolate from that, is up to you. I don't lean solely on that, but there is some substance to that. But what he's saying is factual. When given the opportunity to hip someone to your own mistakes, you want to do it. And so he says, when given the opportunity, the woman is not schooling the young women, so all we or y'all have is him, so we have to deal with the tone. The problem becomes, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you too, sometimes you can try to talk to the women. That's not what she's doing, because she's not giving anything substantive. But there are women, young women, who think they won't listen to you anyway. You just heard the older lady said that she tries to tell her nieces this, they don't listen to her. There are some here in these spaces who will argue with me, who won't have a real conversation with me, but will seek to discredit me. But I've lived the experience in trying to tell women what to do. But let's continue.
The women failed you guys, not the men.
The woman failed us and not the men.
You women failed these young women. Yes. I'll ask you again. Tell these women who are 10 to 16 years younger than you what they should do to get a different outcome than you.
I would say just think before you speak, because I really don't sometimes. And
I believe Kevin is seeking an answer that means long term. And I say that not because I always knew that answer. I say that because having lived through some things, a child out of, having a child out of order, marrying her dad, divorcing, trying to, date, school, all these things. I was living in the moment, not really thinking long-term impact. It's a fact for me. So given that opportunity, what I would have done and what I seek to do now is to say to the women, just like I said earlier, it is not a question of education or marriage. It's not a question of having a career or marriage and family. It is a question of both, prioritizing both. It is a question of realizing you don't have as much time as you think you do. So it is incumbent upon you to prioritize both if that is what you want. If that is not what you want, then this does not apply to you. And yes, along with that, learn to be quiet and all that kind of stuff. But that's part of working in a relationship that you can only do by practice. In a relationship, not in dating, but in a relationship that you seek to go somewhere. Okay, let's continue.
What makes you happy, because this is only one life. And that's all I gotta say, because, and like I was saying before, that my mom taught me, and I never listened or thought about it till it panned out in my life. She was like you need to like pick your battles. You know what I mean? Like, you know how when people get you mad and get you upset, and if you nitpick and bitch and complain about every single thing, like, you're just gonna fuck shit up. You know what I mean? Like, mess stuff up. You know what I mean? And she was like, sometimes, like, you know you ain't going nowhere, and you know you love this man and whatever, like, you need to calm down and relax and not mess it up, because you're not going anywhere because you love him and you're not going anywhere. But I'm not saying like, hey, like,
this is what we would call a run-on sentence.
Like, disrespect me, but she was saying that to me, and I never understood it till I got a little older.
So 21. Did that help you in any way?
Pardon me? I couldn't hear you.
I think what she's saying is just try not. A lot of women are impulsive, and I feel like she's saying to not be so impulsive. Is to actually think through your decisions before you actually make them, and try not to involve.
Is that what you? Okay.
I tried to dissect a little bit of some. I
Yeah,
feel
but
like
I'm
that's
reading your facial expressions and it's not making any sense.
See, the one thing I will say about me, even at 22, if the question would have been asked, do I understand what she's saying? I would say no. I still do that now. I was on the phone call, but again, it's even worse when you get older because you really have zero patience for stuff like that. But I was like, no, I don't understand. Instead of trying to, no, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Can you explain again?
It's not connecting. And again, the whole thing about do what makes you happy is a problem. Happiness is short term. Ma'am, what makes you happy is what children do. It's time to grow up. You need to do what's right. Do what's practical, like grown-ups. Stop.
Right.
I let you speak. Get out of this. I need to do what makes me happy and live my own life. This ethereal, liberal bullshit. You only got one way around it. That is amazingly short-sighted and selfish. So you can say that and then turn around and say that your mother told you something, but at the end of the day, you did what your ass wanted to do because it's all about you. And that's the problem with today's women.
That
it's
is
not
so
about
true,
anybody but them.
Like, we don't want to hear that, but you're telling the truth.
Yeah, have a good one.
Okay. I have to tell you, it is still difficult, even though I had my disagreements and points of view with Kevin. It is still difficult for me to hear his voice in that song, because I'm still incredulous that it just happened like that. And so before I get into this other one, again, in the spirit of Kevin Samuels, there is a responsibility for older women such as myself to do our part, to impart our experiences, our knowledge, wisdom, abilities, mistakes, accomplishments to the younger generations, whether they listen or not. But that is our charge. And it's so funny because I know I get frustrated trying to talk to my daughter about certain things. I'll give you an example. She's a new mom. I know some things about being a mother because I raised her. But somehow Yeah, there are some things that are different, but there are some things that are consistent and will remain consistent as it relates to babies and toddlers. And I try to share certain things so she will not have to suffer the consequences of if she doesn't, childproof something and the baby gets into something. But because you have this new way of getting information, TikTok and all these things, somehow that replaces what sage council of elders and parents, women in the neighborhood have not only have done, but has proven to work, and or if it didn't work, what they learned from it. So it continues. But to take on that mantle, Kevin said we have a responsibility to do it. So in that vein, it's going to lead me to this next video I'm going to talk about. Well, in the past couple of days, there have been some discussions as it relates to women over 40 and dating, how we look at dating, how we should be imparting wisdom to our younger women, and specifically as it relates to this young woman, Chantel Simone. So I'm going to react to certain aspects of this video she did yesterday. And, because she is young enough to be my daughter, because I'm 25 years her senior, I'm going to attempt to lovingly impart some sage counsel, because I believe that she's a very intelligent young woman. So based on what I've seen over the past couple of days, I can only conclude that she's being intentionally obtuse. So let's get into this. So if you're not familiar about, I did go into her chat a couple of days ago, and I have to admit I did not follow the entire conversation, so I did not know when I was interjecting my point that it was derailing the conversation. So that's what happened, but that's not. I've already explained what my intent was. So let's go ahead and get into this for a moment. I'm gonna go ahead and just play the audio.
Younger. She's 38 and she got 2 kids, I think, and she wants 5. But being 38, it's tough to be pregnant at that age. And she said she wish someone told her that story. Shout out to you, David X. It's not my birthday yet, guys. We got 10 days. Shout out to you, David X. Thank you so much for your support. What we can get David, we'll get David this.
I am the table. I am the table. I am.
That's cute.
Thank you so much, David. Yeah, she was like, she's 38, and she wished she knew this, because then she would have started having kids earlier. It's little things like that. As I said on Sunday, I want to create a space where women can come and share their experiences, share their stories, not distract from what we're trying to do.
Okay, here's the thing, that this is very key. This is very key. Because I was attempting to share my story. And in as much as I, did not provide the context with my initial statement in the chat, I tried to clarify that. Because again, part of sharing my story is to suggest you don't want to be my age trying to find love. The blessing for me, if there is to be one, and I consider it to be one, is the fact that although it was out of order, I was able to know the joy of being a mother. Whereas so many people that I know who wanted to be married, who wanted to have children, did not have that opportunity. So I say to myself, yeah, there was a part of my life that I really wanted to be a wife, even though I really didn't understand what that meant early on. But if it had came to a point that I did not find my husband, I at least felt that a part of my life was fulfilled because I was able to bring life and to nurture that life into a productive citizen. Let's continue.
Man, not because you met your husband at 51 on a dating app doesn't mean that's the way people should. That's not. Come on.
So the reason I'm pinpointing this because it is obvious that she's speaking to me and about me, because I'm the 51-year-old who mentioned in her chat that I met my husband on a dating app. And again, to that end, I said this is not the course that I would not recommend it. So before we get down into it, it was not an attempt to derail anything, but let's get to the point of respect. It is apparent to me, because there are certain things that maybe weren't passed down from generation to generation. And it may be cultural differences because I understand she's from the Caribbean. So, young lady, let me help you understand how things generally should work when communicating with someone who is, not necessarily, not just because they're older, but, are appreciating the point of view because, see, I've been your age. You haven't been mine. I've been your age. And like you, people did try to tell me things that I chose not to listen to. But I understand that it may be easier for you to try to dispel what I'm saying to prove your point. But just hear me now. It was not an attempt to derail your conversation, but let's continue.
And we having a conversation. I understand that people are going to be over here in their feelings. I understand that not everybody is going to be on board. Some people be like, oh, well, marriage is not all that.
Well, I would disagree with that because, had I known then what I know now, I would have been loving marriage. Because I've never been more joyful, never been more content. So marriage is all that. I'm going to tell you that now.
All those rich aunties who are so happy, but they got time to be over here to say, oh,
I am a rich auntie. You know what? And in as much as that may have been intent to be a slight, I actually kind of like it. I am a rich auntie. Okay? You see my jewels? You see my jewels? I am your rich auntie. Your rich auntie that's retired and get to do what I want, and my husband spoils me. The shame of it, I didn't know this sooner, but to God be the glory. I was able to get it now. Yeah, let's continue.
Marriage is not all that. And it's like, okay, sis, if you happy, be over there. I'm talking to like-minded, marriage-minded women who want marriage-minded men. That's what I'm talking about. Right? If we start telling these young girls like, hey, you don't want to be out here in the dating market at 30, much less 40.
No, you don't.
40 is old for dating. Come on, let's call a spade a spade. Yeah, you feel young. Yeah, you might look good too. Maybe your titty not long. Shoot. maybe you're 30. I'm sorry, maybe you're 40 and you titty perky. Your titty is up there. Shout out to you.
Mine are not. Straight up. Gravity's real.
But 40 is 40. And to be dating at 40, y'all remember back in the days, like when you watch those old movies and stuff, and those women would lie about their age. Those older women would lie about their age. There's a reason why. Somebody had left a comment. Somebody had left a comment, right? And when I said Ford is 40 old, and she sis went off. And that's what I mean by when I said these the elders, those 40-year-old elders of our community who.
Okay, so here's the thing, another thing. Just for your knowledge going forward, when I refer to an elder, I don't call her sis. Nope. Because that in and of itself is an indication of disrespect. That in and of itself is an indication of condescension. It just is. You know, speaking to women, whether they related to me or not, you know, since my mom is only 17 years older than me, you know, speaking to a woman that is 17 years older than me, if I didn't agree with her, who is an elder, I would say, well, sis. No.
Who listen with their emotions. Like you're 40 and you're still listening with your emotions. You are 40 and you don't know how to put your emotions aside and have a mature conversation.
Let's stop right there. See, that is what we would call gaslighting. Okay? We would call that gaslighting. And just in case those of you don't know what it means, I've looked it up. Gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation in which the abuser attempts to sow self-doubt and confusion in their victim's mind. So, what that indicates to me is, Chantel, sweetheart, you are saying because someone is, you know, sensitive or in their emotions, that it somehow devalues or cancels out their perspective. Just because a person may be in their emotion doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. See, that's what we call gaslighting. Let's continue.
She's saying that apparently me saying that 40 is old is acting as if I'm better than 40-year-old woman, and telling these young ladies to not, telling these older ladies to not love themselves. Because you hit 40, you're supposed to hate you. She interpret me saying, hey, 40 is old for dating. 40 is up there. 40 is not young. She interpret that as me saying women should just sit in the corner and cry. She said, LMAO, women must learn to love themselves at any age, no less. Who are these people? Like, who was telling anybody to not love themselves when they get to 40? We need to look.
Now, Kate, here's the thing. This is true. She did not say that. But what she did say, and she will continue to say in a moment, is that 40 is too old to be on a dating app. 40 is too old to be in the dating market. 50 is too old to be in the dating market. Okay, all that notwithstanding, if a person is 40 or 50 in the dating market, what should they do? Just shrivel up and die? If they're not already married, should they stop trying because they're too old to be in the dating market? So should they just say, well, you know, I missed my chance and not even try? So no, she did not say that you should not love yourself, but because you did say, and you mocked, specifically me, for meeting my husband at 51 on a dating app, and again, shame, insult, guilt, and the need to be right, shout out to Kevin Samuels, attempts to shame a woman who tries to offer hope to women who may have passed the wall. Let's go.
Look, we need to look at reality for what it is. Shout out to Miss Sean for being in here. We need to look at reality for what it is. You should be proud that you're 40. And because I know people listening in their emotions and with their feelings. Let me
Gaslighting.
I'm not saying that you're 40 and you washed up and you done, society done with you.
Oh,
You
really?
should be proud to be 40. Because that means you didn't die at 39. You were alive. You made it to 40. A lot of people didn't make it to 40.
True.
You should be excited, glad to make it to 40. When I saw my friends were stressing out about hitting that 30 mark, and I'm like, what would be the other alternative? You die. If you don't hit 30, you're not Benjamin Button. You can't go back. So if you don't hit 30, you're going to die. Which one would you prefer? I hope I make it to 30. I'm sorry. I hope I make it to 40. I hope I make it to 50. And on and on. So I'm not saying, oh, you're 40. Oh, these 40-year-old women shouldn't love themselves. What I'm saying is, ma'am, 40 is old for dating.
Okay.
Come to the reality. It's time to hop off the Disney World ride. It is time to hop off.
Okay, so again, I'm going to ask, being that 40 and 50 is too old for dating, you find yourself there, but you still desire to be in a relationship. Do you just say, forget it? Do you just not even try? Is that what we're telling women? Now, what we are telling young women, you're absolutely right. And I think I've already articulated that. But if you find yourself 40, 45, 50, you just say, okay, well, I missed my window. I shouldn't even try. Help me understand.
Come on, we dizzy now. We throwing up. We nauseous. Come on. It's time to hop off and look at it for what it is. You should not be 40 on no dating app, ma'am. Much less 50 on no dating app. You should not be 40 in the dating market.
Okay, so should not and is not are two different things. So again, because I'm going to say, young lady, sweetheart, I've been your age. You haven't been mine. So if you are 40, like-minded 40 ups like myself, we don't go to clubs. We don't go to clubs. We might go to some, kickbacks. We don't do that. And see, another thing about getting older, if you are of a mature mindset and you like to grow old gracefully, as such as I do, you're not out and about as much. So being that you're not out and about as much, how would you meet someone? How would you meet someone? So again, shames, insult, guilt, and need to be right. So attempting to shame a person that is 40 and or 51 by being on a dating site whose results yielded me what I wanted, that's a good thing. It's a rare thing, but it's a good thing. It shows hope. It's not probable, but it does show hope. Is it the preference? Absolutely not. But again, again, this, I can be an example and an inspiration and a mentor to young people, but I can also be a mentor and inspiration to women that are 40 and up. Without degrading or diminishing the experiences of someone that is younger. See, and then to go one further, you said we're having a conversation, but that's not true either, because when we're having a conversation, there's a dialogue. There's a dialogue. But hubris, you can look that up, will prevent the exchange of mutual ideas respectfully because the person needs to be right. I'll go ahead and give this to you for free. Let me go ahead and give this to you for free. I'll go ahead and give you hubris. Excessive pride and self-confidence. Yeah. See that? So you know, that is what we're talking about here. And, you know, and to that point, if you would have allowed me to expound or welcomed a real conversation. So hear me, young ladies. Your auntie, your rich auntie, is open to conversations because I don't want you to go down the path that I went through. No. But also for my sisters who are, you know, 45 to, I want you to know, okay, listen, if you are here and you want to be married, you got to do some stuff different with the understanding that it still might not happen. I had to get a hold of that. And to that point, where the young lady talked about or suggests that Chantel was intimating that if you're 40, you shouldn't love yourself. I absolutely should, because here's the thing that I had to learn. I needed to be a better person for me first. Because if I wasn't a better person for me, I would not have been able to be a good person for him. And also, if I wouldn't have become a better person for me, I wouldn't have had the wherewithal to even recognize him. But understanding, even though I was becoming better for me, or as Kevin would say, the best version of myself, I did understand that there was a possibility that I might not get what I said that I wanted, because that ship may have sailed for me. But yes, it is not the preferred thing. But are we to shame people who are over 30 or over 40 on a dating app? Here's another thing. Your rich auntie is doing some work around the house, or having some work done. The two young men who've come to my house recently in the past couple of weeks to do measurements and stuff, as we got to talking, you know, about church and family, these are young men in their late 20s, early 30s. Both of these young men met their spouses on online dating, to include Facebook. And I think it's important to note, because again, our lifestyles are different, because these two young men, they don't go to clubs either, because their lifestyles are different. So they weren't meeting women in clubs. But the way that technology has made it, that's how people meet each other. That's how I've met people, even being in this YouTube space. Shout out to Courtney Michelle. Shout out to Chicago Rilla. Shout out to Sir Hale Speaks. Shout out to Uncle Stu. Shout out to Lucky Marie. That's how people have come together. So are we to shame those people for how they came together because it's not conventional? Let's continue.
Like, that's not normal. That's not natural. And it already happened to you. You already on the app. You already 44 on the app. Okay. Tell your young girls not to do it. Warn our young girls about it. Advise young girls, hey, you don't want to be 40 on a dating app. Drake mom said, who wants to be 70 and alone? Nobody want to be 40 and alone.
And you're absolutely right. No one wants to be that. But what if you are? See what the challenge is here. She wants me and those like me to understand what she's trying to say. But she does not want to understand what we're trying to say, without interpreting it as derailing. If nothing else, my experience could be used as a cautionary tale. But yet, in an opportunity to bridge, you thought it would be a good idea to try to make an example and make fun of me. And that is not only disrespectful, it's classless. So I'm trying to help you, believe it or not. It's okay to be wrong sometimes. I am. It's okay to say, you know what? Maybe I did not understand that correctly. Kind of like what you're talking about with the young lady who wrote into you who was seething. You can look that up too. Based on, what she thought you were saying, which is what you said that you weren't saying. Okay? Same thing.
At 40, everything start hurting. Shout out to Big. Big had leave a comment when I said, is 40 old? He said, ask your back. Ask your back, ask your knees. Lord, I know it's not the same. Somebody was like, they had to change up their diet at 40 because we call it a spade a spade. You know that there are certain things you cannot do at 40 that you were doing at 20. And if you're still doing those same things that you were doing at 20 at 40, like, come on. Come on. And what is that to get upset about? What is that to feel triggered over? What is that to be in your feeling?
That's gaslighting yet again. Continue. So there's some good points she makes. But again, let's not negate one for the other. Because I see if you're paying close attention, she's doing some cleanup here. Because on the one hand, she's basically saying how pathetic it is to be 40 and up in the dating market. Okay. That's on the one hand. But on the other hand, she's saying, well, I'm not saying if you're 40 and up that you should just go and not love yourself. Well, aren't you? Aren't you?
Over. 40 is 40. 40 is not the new 20. 40 is old. 40 is extremely old for dating. You out here on dating apps at 40. Perseverance, Chameleon, shout out to you that my knee and back hurt. Sis, I'm 30 and my back be hurting. I'm 30 and things that I used to do, you guys know that I work out a lot, so I lift weights a lot. Things I used to do just 2 years ago, yeah. The things I used to do just 2 years ago, I'm like, wow. The deadlifts, the squats that I used to do just 2 years ago.
Very true.
I'm like, ooh, we need an extra day in between our rest days. Shout out to Nisim Fitness Sis in the chat. And it just is what it is. You accept it. You say, wow, it comes with 30. You still continue to be the best version of yourself. You still continue to learn, to grow, to mature, to evolve. Why are we?
But you don't find love on dating sites. Because it's
so against 40. Why are we so against aging in the Black community? This is going to trigger somebody.
Can you find another word for the word trigger? Here's the thing. I understand part of that, but for me, I'm excited to get older. Now there's some aspects I don't necessarily like with getting older, like the thinning of the hair. That's my way, but some of the gravity, the bags under my eyes. But I love being a 55-year-old wife, mother, and grandmother. Oh, and retiree. I love it. I love it. I would not want to compete for, with a 30-something. I just wouldn't. So I'm not saying that some of these things are not happening. Because they are. I'll just leave right there. Go ahead.
Why are we so against aging in the Black community? Why are we so against maturing and passing down wisdom? What is so wrong with being an elder in the community?
Well, there's nothing wrong with being an elder unless you are disrespected and you are, I can't think, disrespected, unappreciated, and mocked. So there's nothing wrong with being an elder. because there are stripes, just like in the military. Shout out to my Army and Navy career. With each rank or each stripe, you earn that. In the military, on the strength, before you even say a word, your stripes let you know the experience and the price, even though you may not know exactly, but it gives you some indication of the price or the cost it took to get those. And because of that, you render the proper respects, whether you want to or not, out of respect for the position. Even if you disagree respectfully. So no. There is nothing wrong with being an elder. But there's absolutely something wrong when being an elder is not valued, appreciated, or respected.
Your opportunity now to mentor young girls, your opportunity to guide young girls. Why are we fighting against the fact that 40 is old?
I'm not.
We want to live in our delusion. We want to live in our lives, and we want to live in our feelings because we feel good. We feel good at 40, or we think we look good. We think that our titty is not hanging, even though we got 3 kids.
Okay, I think that's enough of that. But that's what I wanted to talk about. Again, shout out to Kevin Samuels. We must take on the mantle to try to impart wisdom to younger women. By the same token, it is incumbent upon younger women to sit, listen, hear, seek to understand before being understood, agree to disagree respectfully. Because here's the thing, there too will come a time, whether it be your daughter, Chantel Simone, your niece, your friend's children, that you're going to try to impart some things, and you're going to try to share the positives of your life as well as the negatives of your life in hopes to shape the direction in which they will go. And you will be just as triggered, just as disrespected, just as emotional when you feel or you receive what you perceive to be disrespect and devaluation. Because as I close, you will say to them, as I am saying to you now, I have been your age. You have not been mine. So until next time, thank you for stopping by. Please subscribe, like this video, subscribe to the channel, share this content. Okay? Leave your comments. And another thing, Chantel, I am open to have a discussion with you. I've said this before, and I know that other people who may see things differently than you have also reached out to you for a conversation that you've declined. So let it be said here, shout out to Courtney Michelle, let it be said here that no one is refusing to communicate or to have constructive conversations. No one is doing that. But there are things such as decorum that is necessary in effective communication. Okay? So, again, thank you all for stopping by. I'm gonna give you one more look at my mosaic mug. I think I'm gonna go with it. This is my sample. Okay. Thanks for stopping by. Ciao for now.